Alright, today we're going to do a valve adjustment on this exmark with their engine, the 708cc V-twin. I was having a little bit of performance issues, noticing some clicking. Right now, currently, I sit at about 364 hours on this exmark, and this is the first time I've done a service on this. I just have a Quest here with a 42-inch deck, nothing fancy. But we'll get into it. All right, here are all the tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need a torque wrench that goes all the way down to about 5 foot-pounds of torque. You're gonna need a 13/16 spark plug socket. You're gonna need a 10 millimeter. You're gonna need 16 millimeter. You're gonna need a ratchet. You're gonna need 2 wrenches. You're gonna need a 14. You're gonna need a 10. Then of course some feeler gauges, and then a razor blade to clean off any of the old gasket. And here's what you're looking at for gaskets. You're gonna need 2 of these bad boys. I'm gonna run you about $15. I just picked these up from my local exmark dealer. I'm sure you can get them anywhere. Here's the part number. If you want to try to order them online, someplace a little cheaper. But yeah, that's all you're gonna need. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and remove our spark plugs. So when you're turning it over the engine, a lot less resistance. You just go ahead and get your 13/16 right here and take them off both sides, push it down in there. Mine are already loose. I've already taken them out. This is just for demonstration purposes. All right, next you're gonna go ahead and get you an oil pan, because you're gonna have a little bit of spillage when you take this off. You literally got 4 bolts here to take off. Here's one of them, here's your other, there's another, and here's another one. And luckily exmark made it easy, and it's just a simple, comes right off, nothing crazy. There you go. You just take all 4 of them off. Pretty simple. All right, once you get your final bolt out here, this should just pop right off. Hopefully most of the gasket comes off for you here. And so you don't need that drip pan, because you're gonna have just a little bit of oil coming out of here. You can go ahead and pick up some oil if you need, but I would recommend having a drip pan. It's gonna drip on your exhaust a little bit. Go ahead and get you some brake cleaner. Take care of that when you get done. So here are your 2 valves that you're gonna need to adjust. This is your intake, and this is your exhaust right here. This is where you don't need your 16 millimeter for, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach up under here, and you're gonna put your 16 millimeter right here, and this is where you're gonna turn it over to get your cylinder top dead center. So while you're turning this over here with your 16 millimeter, it's real easy to turn over once you have both them spark plugs out. And to find your top dead center, you just put your finger over your spark plug hole here, and just feel for it. And then you'll feel the pressure build up as you're turning it over. And when you feel that pressure, you just look in here with your light. You won't be able to get a good picture of it right now, and look to see if that cylinder's pretty close to the top. It's hard to really gauge what top dead center is. All right, now I got it at top dead center. What exmark says for the intake valve is you should be able to slide a 10 millimeter through 15 millimeter in between the valve and the rocker arm. All right, so this is just a cheap Harbor Freight, made in China, BS filler gauge here. And you go ahead and start with your 10 millimeter. See if it won't just slide in there between your intake. It slides in real easy. Now, if it's too much, if this 15 slides in too easy, then we're gonna need to tighten it up. But the 15 does not go. I don't know if you can see this very well, but the 15 does not go with ease. So the intake valve on this side is good. Now, for this exhaust valve, it's different specs. On the exhaust, it wants 15 to 20. So once again, I'm going to start with that 15, make sure the tightest tolerance can fit, and then we'll move on to the exhaust, or onto the 20. Right here, we got the 15 doesn't fit. Looking right there at the 15. See, it's not going in there at all. So that valve's too tight in accordance with the specs. So what we're going to have to do is you're going to take your 14 millimeter and your 10 millimeter. Now, I've already done the other side, and this is really tight. So you're going to put that 10 millimeter on this top nut right here. I don't know if you see how it's got two different nuts here. So you're going to put the 10 on the top, and then you're going to put that 14 on that back one. And basically you're going to put that 14 on there to keep it from spinning. So you're going to try to break loose the top, and I'm telling you, it's really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And when you do these adjustments, you really don't need to move it much. I've already done the other side, and the exhaust was way out of tolerance. And like I said, it's very small. You need to move this back one. So the top one's just a lock, and the back one is your actual setting for how tight this valve is, this rocker arm is. So once you break this top one loose, you just, in this case, we just loosen it just a hair, this back one. So we turn it counterclockwise just a little bit, and then we tighten this top nut back up, and then you would take your feeler gauges again and check it. So once I get this loosened up just a little bit, I'll come right back. All right, I broke these loose, and if you can see, this top one spins independent from that bottom one. And like I said, we just need to loosen it up just a little bit, and then we'll tighten that back down. And then once we get this tightened right back down, that's when we're going to use our feeler gauge to check it. Don't worry about the wobble side to side. That's not the tolerance it's looking for. It's just looking for the tolerance in between the rocker and the valve. Alright, so I got it tightened back up. I used my holding wrench here on the big one, and then I tightened up this 10 millimeter, and that's how we got it nice and stuck. Like I was showing you before, those would move independent from each other. So now we take our 15 here, and it slides in there. It's snug, but not too tight. It shouldn't be hard to put that in there. It should slide in there snugly. So next, we're gonna go ahead and clean up all around this right here. It looks like we're pretty clean, just got that one spot. Go ahead, get you some blue paper towels and clean up the valve cover here a little bit. Use your razor blade. Be gentle not to score it too deep, because that could cause leakage here later. Now that we got it cleaned up and your valve cover cleaned up, the dealer said that they recommended to have the writing towards the block. So it's a little hard for me to do one-handed, but you just put it back, and we're gonna come back and we'll torque those all down. Alright, so this only calls for 8 foot-pounds of torque. I do recommend you go out and buy yourself a nice torque wrench. I had one of them Harbor Freight cheap ones that you could buy. I'm talking the non-digital ones. I got a steal on the Snap-on one. That's the only reason I bought a Snap-on. So like the thing indicated, the torque wrench indicated, it's only 8 foot-pounds of torque on these, and I'm going to do them in a cross pattern. Just take it right on up there to 8. There we go. And then I'm going to crisscross it. I've already done this top one here, so I'm going to come down to this bottom one, and it's as simple as that. Just torque them down to 8 foot-pounds. On this other side, I'm going to reassemble it off camera, and next we're going to go ahead and put this spark plug in. I'm going to go ahead and check the gap on it. I'll get that here. Seems as I probably got about 100 hours on this spark plug, and I'm just cheap, and it does, and I probably should replace it. The tolerance on the spark plugs for exmark is 0.7 millimeters to 0.8 millimeters, and we'll just go ahead and check it here. So there's our 0.7 fits. And our 0.8 doesn't really fit, so we're within tolerance here. Now, if the 0.8 fit loose, then you would just go ahead and push that down a little bit, and we would get it within your tolerance that you need. Once again, it's still your 13/16 to put this bad boy on. I don't put any anti-seize on here. I just raw dog it, just like that. But I also keep my lawnmower inside. I mean, I keep it somewhat clean. I wash it about twice a year, not really that much. It's been a great lawnmower for me, honestly. Like I said, this is the first thing I've actually had to do to this lawnmower other than oil changes. In my eyes, this is still just maintenance that I'm doing. Just like any car, you got older cars, you got to adjust the valves on them. And then I just take this and I snug it up a little bit, not too tight. Get it on there. And then push that on there. If you haven't done an oil change on these and you're paying someone to do an oil change, it's really easy to do an oil change. I mean, there's the oil filter, and here's how you drain the thing. If you want, I can make a video on it. I'm sure others have made a video. Make sure you get some brake cleaner. Clean this bad boy off right here, or you're gonna be smoking up pretty good. And then also, we're gonna go ahead and check our oil before we start this. Well, let me get this buttoned up, and then we'll go ahead and start it up and see if she... All right, here's the moment of truth here. Definitely got rid of that clicking noise that I had going on here earlier. Make sure you check for leaks. I'm gonna let it warm up, and that's it for this video. Appreciate y'all watching. Go ahead and just hit the like button. If you got any other questions or any other videos you want me to do on this bad boy, I'll go ahead and do them. Leave it in the comments. Peace out.